Welcome to another edition of Yacht Life Chronicles, where we are better together than separated. We have a wonderful and unique, interesting guest on the show today. She goes by the name of Sheila Little, and Sheila is at this current time. She's doing a research study. She's doing a research study that aims to explore the influence of emotional intelligence on procrastination in the African American female entrepreneurs. She's a success coach. She's a business coach. And Sheila, tell them a little bit more about what you do out there. Introduce
Yeah.
yourself to everybody.
Well, one, thank you for having me on your show. Hi,
Thank you.
everyone. I think you get an amazing entry, right? I'm a success coach. I help people really attain a success in their life, and I do that by integrating my background as a therapist, right? And my own personal journey, and and then identifying their goals. And the reason I say a success coach, because we're unpacking like these unconscious beliefs. We're looking at their level of emotional intelligence, and I'm really helping them to develop the emotional intelligence and really identify like what is these limiting beliefs that's stopping you from having a life that you desire, so you can ultimately experience the success that you want in your, I say life, and life is an acronym, and your love of self and your interactions with others and your
Hmm.
focusing and your energy. So yeah,
Right.
I've been a clinical therapist for 17 years. And I've owned my own business now for 9 years. It'll be going on 10.
Okay.
Um, and so all of that, but I've also always had an entrepreneur spirit, right? I started off doing hair and, being a landlord and all of that. And so I just kind of, call it a synergy process, right? I just take everything that I've experienced and, and really pack it in a very strategic and precise way to really, help individuals, attain their goals. I mean, it's the process I've used, and I just
Right.
rinse and repeat over and over.
Right. So we know that emotional intelligence is a term we often hear. But could you explain what it means in the context of entrepreneurship and how how it might relate to procrastination?
Yeah. So emotional intelligence in simple terms is the ability to understand and cope with your emotions and the emotions of those around you, right? So you are really in a relationship with your emotions and allowing yourself to process that, feel that, understand that, and you are aware of it, right? And so when it comes to entrepreneurs, what I found out, well, let's talk about procrastination first. So everybody really feels like procrastination is a time management issue, right? I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time. Like, oh, my schedule is too full. And the more I delve into the research, the more I start seeing that no, actually, procrastination could be, because my research is still going on, an emotional problem, right? Meaning, I got this report due and I'm nervous about what I have to say in this report. Or I got this, so let's talk about entrepreneurs. I need to do a business plan, but I don't really know what to say in a business plan. Or, I don't know how to do a profit and loss statement. Or, I don't know how to really go through inventory. And all of that stirs up this level of emotion. So we put it on hold and we will tell ourselves stories like, nobody wants to help me, or it's just a lot, or I just don't understand. But truly, those stories are self-soothing narratives to really compensate for the level of emotional dis-ease that you're feeling about the task before you. That could be in customer service, that could be in product development, that could be in marketing your product, getting online. All of those things are emotional. And specifically in African American entrepreneurs and then females, we have limiting beliefs already. So it's like, I don't want to come online and somebody say something, or, what if they don't like me, or what if they reject this, right? All of these narratives that come up that really stop us from doing the thing that we ultimately want to do. So I just want to check to see like, okay, is this has to do with a level of emotional intelligence? Because that is a skill that we learn, as we develop into adults. It's not something we're born with. right? Not a lot of people are born with it. So it's a skill that we can actually learn, but it's not taught. It's not taught in schools, right? It's not taught in our homes. So where do we learn how to understand our emotions and be okay with them, and then understand the emotions of other people? I don't know about you, but in my home, we only got permission to have two emotions, maybe three. You know what I mean? And we got whooped, and your feelings just didn't matter. You know, and so it really
It was
delayed.
either mad, sad, or angry.
Yes, yes.
I mean, it
And
was
so,
either happy, sad, or angry.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, in that case, where did we learn how to be in relationship with our emotions and to be able to handle that? Now, as a kid, that same level, I say that fragrance of happy, sad, and angry, right?
Mhm.
It carries over into our adult life. And now we start to create stories that's either happy, sad, or angry, right? This person made me mad. This person made me sad, or this person made me happy. When there's so many other emotions, right, that you can have, but if you haven't been introduced to that and don't know what that is, it's going to be very hard for you to really level up in life, because at some point it's not even about your level of intelligence, meaning what you know. It's really about your social constructs, right? Like how you start to talk to people, how you handle your own, conflicts, what your conflict resolution skills look like, because life is happening, right? The good, the bad, the ugly. And we can't only expect the good things to happen to us, right? We have to also know how to manage those those resisting times.
How much of emotional intelligence plays into problem solving?
Oh man, a huge part in problem solving. So one, you have um, even problem solving. Let me say this: even problem solving is a skill, and it's a learned behavior. So I'm gonna ask you, how did your parents teach you how to handle problems?
To face them, basically. My parent will always say, make sure you face your problems.
Hmm.
But they never really taught me how to face them because, here we is, I'm emotionally drawn here, I'm emotionally drawn there, and I don't know how to school my emotions to obedience.
Right.
So I'm basically being driven off my emotions, so it's like we kind of like coming up wasn't taught to be problem solvers.
Right, right. And so in that case, we typically will shut down, right? So if I don't really know how to solve this problem, either now you're the problem, right? And I'm a ghost you and I'm a leave, or I'm just gonna shut down altogether, right? I'm just not gonna talk about it and ghost you or leave. So this skill of problem solving, right? We address it authentically. We understand that there's a problem that needs to be solved, but we don't address it transparently, right? Where you're telling me, okay, this is the problem, this is how I feel, and this is what I think the solution is. That is the emotional part, right? Because what if the solution I feel, you don't feel, right? What if my end goal is not your end goal? Now I'm scared. Now that may bring up some insecurities in me, right? And that's the emotional side of problem solving, because you get all of these as your emotions rise, this fragrance brings up these thoughts and beliefs. And a lot of those thoughts and beliefs have nothing to do with the adult person that you are today. It has everything to do with, the environment you grew up in and what you were taught from your community, from your home, from your peers.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
how do we problem solve let me say this. My company is called Shaping Solutions, and I call it Shaping Solutions because solutions are shaped. And when we shape those solutions, it's really based on the individual, right? Looking at this person's strengths. So one person probably can solve their problems through conversation, through talking about it. Another person may need a visual aid, right? Like, and see the problem and see that solution. Another person may need to write it down and write it out first, right? So each role though that you take is going to get you to that end result. It's just in how or what works for you. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense because at the end of the day, we have to be problem solvers. We know we have to have that balance on our emotions. We have to know how to school negative emotions to obedience. You know, I learned I learned how to deal with emotional intelligence is switching the channel of the thoughts of my mind. You know, so I'm thinking of something and it gives me this bad emotion or bad vibe, something that I'm feeling. Because I learned, you know, because I wanted to bring you to the show because this is something that I've been dealing with for years, emotions, you know, and being able to develop emotional intelligence. And I was taught that when you in that heated moment, when you in that irate moment, and that's when you step outside of yourself, look back at that person and see what that person is doing. And to be able to do an introspection of yourself, to study yourself, and to develop emotional intelligence, we have to understand when we are going through it. We just can't be driven by the emotion, but we got to be understanding that we're studying ourselves at the same time. So, okay, now you got this heated emotion that's going through your body, your blood coagulating and all this and that. Now you have to step outside of yourself to understand what's going on. And we develop that emotional intelligence in our most trying times when we're dealing with the emotions.
Absolutely. I think that that's powerful. And I think another powerful thing is you have to know that that's a problem, right? So, a big part of problem solving is you have to know that your behavior is a problem or the behavior that you're displaying is a problem. And a lot of times, I think that we justify our behaviors because we don't want to feel that. So, I went off on you because you did something, right? I said that because you did this. So I'm not even identifying that I'm a problem. You know, my behavior is a problem. My level of emotion that I chose was a problem because it fit the situation, right? And so it's like, okay, you probably could have cussed that person out, but how could you have done that differently? You know, because at the end of the day, if you're going around cussing everybody out or you ghosting everybody, or everybody is a problem, you still the common denominator in all of those situations. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And eventually, here's the thing about human beings, we all want to connect, right? Contribute and create. So if these conflicts is causing you not to connect, so you ain't trusting nobody, that's one of your narratives, or not able to create the life you want because you can't trust nobody because everybody is fake or whatever, and your ability to collaborate, right? Because you can't trust nobody. I mean, the common denominator is you. And so you have to now kind of start to stop looking outwardly and have some introspection on, okay, let me take a look at me. And especially if you came from chaotic backgrounds, right? That's the biggest, like if you came from a traumatic situation, you have to have a level of awareness. Like, let me just go do an assessment on myself.
How do we know when we emotionally getting in our own way?
Patterns, right? Just the same pattern, just played out in different scenarios, different people, and different situations, right? So if I find that, um, just say, I'm gonna speak from a woman's perspective. If I find that um, every time I start to date, and I'm gonna use this one, every time I start to date, that I'm dating the same kind of guy. You know what I mean? At some point, I got to stop pointing my finger at the guy and saying, okay, I'm just dating these type of guys. Like, I have to point to myself and say, okay, why am I attracting that? If I'm working and I'm constantly being fired, or I'm constantly you know, in disconnect with my peers or my coworkers at work, then I got to at some point look at me and say, okay, why are you keep repeating this? And if you can go back over years and say, okay, that same situation is happening over and over and over again, it's just with different people, but you can say the same thing, you experience the same thing, you already know, you can see it coming. 9 times out of 10, this is your pattern. And you have developed this habit. And at this point, now you're attracting those type of situations into your life, right? And so that's another reason to really get emotionally intelligent so you can break those patterns, like you said, before they even trigger you. You already kind of, okay, I see that, and let me
And
change it.
what happens is that sound like once you develop that pattern and it's become automated within your system, then what you've created is what we call a passive dependent personality disorder, you know, because
Mhm.
here it is, we're dealing with patterns that have us awkward with life.
Mhm.
Here we are, we're studied, indulged, and engaging in patterns that have us dependent on a lot of outside resources, a lot of external things, and nothing within ourselves.
Right. And so
You know,
we call that codependency, right? Like when I can blame my current state of emotions, my current state of finances, my current state of whatever on you, then that's codependency at its best. If I had to define that, that's codependency when you are blaming your current circumstance as an adult, right? On your environment, on the people in your environment, either your parents or your mate. Like, no, that's codependent because now you want them to act and behave a certain way so that you don't have to feel a certain way or so that you don't have to be a certain
take
way.
responsibility.
Yeah. And so that lack of responsibility and accountability on you is the codependent nature. And listen, we come from very codependent backgrounds, right? Where we are saving, either we're playing the savior, we're saving everybody, either we're playing the victim, right? Life is happening to me. And so, and even coming from impoverished backgrounds or, broken systems, right? Or dysfunctional families, all of those structures, they thrive on codependency. Like I need you to be the breadwinner so we can eat and I don't gotta work, right? I need you to be this, victim to my behavior so I can, have something to be mad at, right? And so we come from very codependent backgrounds, and that energy and pattern now as adults, when we try to break free, another need for emotional intelligence, now we have to deal with the scrutiny of, oh, so you ain't gonna do that. Oh, so you changed. Oh, so you did this, and then that draws us back into, you see, that pattern of behaviors around our
Mm,
friends and our family, or even leaving relationships. We don't want to really
mm,
deal with those
right,
judgments.
right. And one thing about emotional intelligence that I learned, I never assume things. I never live in a speculative reality. I don't look through life through an optical illusion because you could be misled. When you assume things. You could be misled when you speculate things. All this stuff rattle up your emotions.
Mhm.
And sometimes what we don't know, what we assume, we go off the deep end and we make a mistake. We over exaggerate the situation, making
Mhm.
it more than what it was.
Mhm.
And, just because of we assume this or we assume that and not having the facts.
Mhm.
So how important is it to have the facts on things and situations before you assume, before you do a lot of speculative thinking, and just stirring up emotions for no apparent reason?
Yeah. So how important to have the facts is so important. And then we still have to know that having the facts in human dynamic is still perspective, right? So there is no facts, right? It's just I'm open to your experience or what you were doing, if that makes sense. So does that make sense? Um so your question was, how do we the truth. How do we handle the facts
Right.
and the
How do
truth?
we, yeah, the truth, instead of assuming things, speculating
Affirmative
things,
and
stirring
speculating.
up a bunch of emotions that make us go over the cliff and sometimes do crazy stuff.
Right. So that's a trauma response, right? And that's a trigger. So what you are doing is you're responding to um, a story that's in your mind that probably happened to you or somebody else in the past, right? And so your response now is a way to, in some way, deviate, right? Or disrupt what you think is about to happen. So I'm assuming, right, based off of how I feel. You did something to me. I felt some way. Now I disconnected from you and I went into my own mind, right? And when I went into my mind, I started to think about the last time this happened to me before, right? Or the last time I saw this behavior, and now I'm going to prepare myself with the defense of what I think you did, or what I think you're doing, or what I'm assuming you're doing, right? So you're not even living in the present moment then, because you didn't give the other individual the opportunity to explain themselves, what their intention was. You see what I'm saying? And so this becomes very disruptive in relationships with your friends, with your families, or whatever, because now you're projecting, what we call projecting, your story, your idea onto an experience that may not be true. That's probably not what that
Exactly.
person is doing, you know?
Right.
And you haven't clarified and asked the questions that needed to be asked, right? Or even shared how you feel to even give that person the opportunity to say, okay, I see you.
Okay. So, what led you to focus specifically on African American female entrepreneurs in your study? And are there any unique challenges or experiences that they face that you've seen that need to be addressed?
Yes. So, why did I focus on African American entrepreneurs? Because I was one. You know, I came into the field, and I was faced with so much, right? Like, I had every narrative, like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, life is against me,
Mm-hmm.
people don't want to support me. You know, I'm a woman in business, and, you know, people don't take me serious, and like all of this, you know, all of these stories. And guess what? To me, at the time, these were true. These were definitely true experiences that I was having. But what it did was it made me not motivated to want to even sometimes go into the office, right? It made me not be able to um, really do what I had came into the field to do, which was to create, you know, change in a specific group of individuals, right, including myself. So I hired a coach, and this is when I really started to move from like therapy to like coaching, because I hired a mindset coach, and I'm like, you know, now she's talking about it different. She's like, oh, well, no, you have these core beliefs. Well, we had talked about core beliefs as a therapist, but
Mm-hmm.
not really understanding how those core beliefs help us to navigate life, right? In what we see. And so I had these very limiting core beliefs about what it meant to be a Black woman, right? That I wasn't even aware of, you know? And so then I started to shift, because as a Black woman, I felt like I needed to be more, I needed to do more, I need to show up harder. I couldn't let anybody, you know, try to challenge me. Like, I had a lot of masculine energy, you know, coming in. Like, I was really suited with armor every day, but it
Mm-hmm.
was wearing on me as a mother, you know, as a daughter in a relationship. And so when I got a coach, I realized, okay, now I got to start changing these beliefs. And changing those beliefs made me realize that I didn't have the ability to regulate my emotions, you know, and how I felt about a situation. I was responding to how I felt about the situation versus the goal itself. Do you want this goal, or do you want to feel this way and just keep talking about how you feel?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, well, I want to attain the goal. And so then as I started to really process and transform from the inside and started to lead from the inside, I realized, like, oh man, there's so many limiting beliefs that's before me. And when I started to develop this level of emotional intelligence where I was now being aware of my own emotions, right? Having empathy for other people and how they felt, you know, about me
Mm-hmm.
showing up late,
Right.
about me saying a certain way. I understand how you feel, you know, versus trying to defend my behaviors. Now I became more
Right.
empathetic to their experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
How to really resolve conflict, listen to the conflict, and really say, okay, I see that that's a problem. How can we solve that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all of those things truly, then I'm like, oh yeah, thank you, God, for sending me on this journey. Now I want to put these breadcrumbs in front of other entrepreneurial women so that they too can be successful. Because it was a lot of times where I was like, I'm just gonna go back and be a therapist. And it's so funny because every time I went to turn back, I felt bad. Like, that wasn't what I was supposed to do, right? It was
Right.
like, no, that's not the answer. I need you to keep moving forward. But it was getting so bad sometimes I would just be in the car like, I just can't do this. But every time I'm like, okay, let me go apply for a position as a therapist, I got this daunting, like, that is not it, Sheila. And so I just kept pushing forward, kept hiring coaches, kept, expanding my awareness, becoming more aware of myself. And then I took all of that experience from my own personal journey with coaches and therapists, me as a therapist, in my business experiences. And then I created the framework, Stop It Now, which really is the anchor of what I do, is really help people stop doing the things that is getting in the way of the life that they desire and to deserve. Because here's the thing, that thing that was in me that wanted to be birthed, I didn't really need help with that. You know what I needed help with? The limiting beliefs that was getting in the way, the
And what I
inability to
wanted
regulate
to,
my emotions that was getting in the way. You know what I mean?
right. And I wanted to kind of like piggyback off them core beliefs for a minute. Have you ever read The Four Agreements by Miguel Ruiz?
Yes.
And and he talk about the agreements that, with the black magic that can be spread, and we so many negative things can be deposited into us, especially as black men, black women over the years, from peers, television, the internet, in the streets. Like, when on these playgrounds, you got a lot of, you got a lot of bullying, you got a lot of demeaning of people, disparaging of people, dislike. So people don't have a filter on what they say to people today. So, and a lot of those things people agree with once they're said,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
it becomes one of their core beliefs.
Yeah.
Then you have core beliefs that was taught by your grandma, your uncles, and your mom
Yes.
that fitted into the world that they lived in, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Those beliefs, aligned with that time and that era.
Yes.
But those same beliefs, as we stick to them, it don't align with the time. It don't align with the dynamics of of how our life is going, and with this era. You want
Right.
to speak on that for a minute?
Absolutely. So what you said was powerful because yes, and here's the thing, it happens between the age of 1 and 12, right? Our brains are like sponges. So we really have no resistance to the information that's being put into our minds. It's like if you teach a kid before the age of 3, like 5 different languages, that kid gonna learn 5 different languages. It
Exactly.
don't know no different, right? So, or that kid doesn't know any difference. So now you thinking an environment that is, just say, dysfunctional or unhealthy or riddled with diseases, right? Diseases. That environment, that kid doesn't have a defense mechanism to what's true or what's not true. They're just absorbing life and being redirected. And now, like you said, now they start to agree with those beliefs around 11 to 25, right? Like we start to make like, oh, maybe what my mama said was true, or maybe what my grandma felt was true, right? So then they start to make that their own. Here's the issue though, when you become an adult, now that fragrance or those beliefs, right, they come over into your adult life and maybe they just don't apply anymore. That was true for how you could sustain and survive in that particular environment, but it's not going to allow you to provide to thrive into the individual you were created to be today. That unique 23rd chromosome that make you you, that make me, those are somebody else's core beliefs. That are somebody else's opinions of how to do something, right? And then we take them on and we agree with it. And once we agree with it, it's like now it becomes our own and it becomes the stumbling block to really us attaining what we want to attain in life. And that is why we have to learn how to rewrite our story, you know, from the inside out.
That's so important what you just said right there. Learning to rewrite our story.
Yeah. Because
And it's part of the ego as well, right? When you tether to these certain beliefs, and okay, this particular style of life don't line up with your core belief, so this may be an opportunity, this may be some type of lucrative chance for you, but here it is, you missing out on it because your grandma said don't do this, or your mom was taught like this, or You have religious beliefs,
Right.
and,
Right.
and
Right.
what happened is opportunities pass you by,
Right. Right.
and
Opportunities,
that's once
people,
again, we getting
experiences.
in our own way.
Yes. I think it's so powerful because a lot of us don't even know that that's a core belief, right? A lot of us don't even know the power of core beliefs. So I just want to explain what the power of core beliefs is. The power of core beliefs is like a magnet, right? And you got the side of the magnet that repels, right? And then you got the side of the magnet that connects. Whatever that core belief is connecting with that belief, and it's repelling probably your ultimate desire, the thing you want. So let me give an example of what that looks like. I'm saying, I don't know if y'all went to bingo before, but when you went to bingo, you had the magnet that picked up the chips,
Right,
and then you had the other side of it. So here's the thing: if I got a core belief that men can't be trusted, right? Now I'm attracting men that can't be trusted. That is my belief. That's the magnet that's drawn into me. But I'm repelling the men who can be trusted, right? I'm seeing an issue with them, like, oh, either they too chummy or they too this or whatever, right? But
right,
guess what I want? I want the man that I'm repelling, but my belief system, this magnet, is not allowing him into my atmosphere, right?
right.
Because it's not aligned with my core belief of what I really think about men, right? And that has nothing to do with my self-esteem and my self-worth. I could have 100% worth and feel valuable and all of that, and I could stand 100% in that. But if my concept of man is in any way not in alignment with my desire, right? The ability to trust a man, because that's my desire. If my belief is in conflict with that, then I'm repelling that type of man, and I'm continuing to attract the type of man who I can't trust, who is constantly lying, because I have a belief of that. Now, where did I get that belief from? Probably my mama, or my friends, or society, right? And I agree with that belief. Maybe the first time a man lied to me, maybe when my dad lied to me, right? Then I'm like, oh, you know what? All men are liars, right?
Right.
All men do cheat, right? And now I've agreed with that core belief. Now I've become my own. And now in my aura or in my energy field, it's going to now repel any man that can be trusted. I'm a side eye of. It's not going to be comfortable. And I just want to give that example because when we talking about core beliefs, I think it's really important that this is not just a like woo-woo thing. No, this is truly the way you're designed by nature. God was phenomenal in how he designed this body, right? And that ability to attract and repel is so true to our energy fields.
Mm. Man, you got so much education and so much, man, so many things to edify us with. We definitely gonna have to do a part two. And because it's so many, because I want to kind of jump around a little bit,
That's fine.
So,
That's fine.
because I want to touch more on that, but I kind of want to jump around, and connect with you on certain things because I know that, you know, we expect people to be a certain way,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how we view them in our head. Of instead of seeing a person for who they are, we rather see the person for who we have them built up in our mind to be.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, and you said that we're not in a relationship with the actual individual, but in a relationship with who we want them to be.
Yes. Yes.
And you say that is an issue.
That's a,
And
a
why?
big issue. A big
All right.
issue, right? Because if I have an idea of who you are and I'm in relationship with the idea of who you are, and you continue to show up to me in your physical presence, right? In your divineness, and you not that, I'm rejecting this person every day. Like, and I'm saying that something is wrong with you, or why can't you change this, or why are you coming off like this, not realizing that person is not the problem. You the problem, because you have created an idea of how you want this person to be and have rejected the person for who they are, good, bad, or indifferent. And that is an issue. And so many of us is in a relationship with the idea of an individual versus the person as they show up, and allowing that person to evolve in front of you. Like you said, in this conversation, oh, my mind was so many, we got to do a part two because so much, I want to say, people blossom. You know what I mean? The more you accept a person, then the more they start to blossom, right? So the more of them you get to see, right? So they may show up authentic, right? But the more transparent they become when they know that, okay, you see me, you understand me, the more they start to share. Roses, people don't blossom when you don't accept them. They stay buds like a rosebud, right? They don't open up to you because now it's like, I'm not good enough, something is wrong all the time, right? So you hear this narrative because they don't feel accepted for who they are. Now, the reverse side of that is a person who's never been accepted for who they are, right? And have always been in relationship with people who have not accepted them. They become a defensive, right? So now they have a belief that nobody wants to see me. I'm a loner. Nobody understands me. Nobody really gets me. Does that make sense? And now they're repelling the person that really does get them and really does
Right.
want to understand them. They keep attracting people who are more attracted to the idea of who they can become versus who they are. So it's a double-edged sword, right? The people who've experienced it and the people who keep doing it. Every person wants to be accepted for who they are. But how often are we truly accepting the people that's in our life for who they are, not for who we want them to be?
And Hillary Clinton, what was Hillary Clinton phrase? Believe them the first time.
Really, I think that was Oprah Winfrey. What's that?
Oprah Winfrey, believe them
Oprah
the first
Winfrey.
time
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
when they show you something.
Believe it the first time. And here's the thing, and it happens. This is not just negative. You can meet a very nice person, right? But you don't believe they're nice, right? You don't believe that they're this genuine or this sincere, right? Because you're thinking, okay, when is that other person gonna come out? Because in your idea, nobody is this nice, nobody is this kind, right? In the same way, when you meet a person that may be rude. Now, because you may have an attraction to this person, you may be like, oh, he just had a bad day, or maybe something happened, right? You're not accepting, no, this person is not emotionally available. They are emotionally erratic, right? And dealing with them accordingly.
And that can be so prevalent in poverty.
Yes.
Dealing with poverty, man, you got a lot of insecurities. You got a lot of backbiting, a lot of backstabbing, a lot of, I don't want to see you with this. And if you got this one material thing more than I got, then I don't like it. And it's like we being all emotionally driven for these materialistic things and the money and you know and what it's doing is making us worse as a culture, as a people.
Mhm.
And it seemed like that is like the most, and that is like in the most regard where we need to have emotional intelligence and emotional balance as to where, we can start liking each other. And like you say, start dealing with each other. Because if we always had that narrative in our head, well, I don't like this person, or I don't like that person, then we're missing out on opportunities or a person that can open several doors for us.
Right. Or just the belief that your family taught you, don't trust nobody, right? People
Exactly.
can't be trusted. This is coming up in my spirit. One of the things that we have to realize is that when we they call us a disadvantaged population for a reason. And that just ain't because of the color of our skin, because that is not at a disadvantage. Actually, there's more melanated people in the world than any other place. The disadvantage is these core beliefs, right? Is this internal place that is so far behind in how we see ourselves, how we view our communities, how we view money, right? We're at a disadvantage because we're not in reality. We're not in it today, meaning you can actually attract the life you want. Your beliefs is powerful, right? But we are at a disadvantage because we've been handed like lack and lack and lack and lack and lack and lack and lacking beliefs, lacking emotional regulation, lacking motivation, lacking, empathy. Like we've all experienced lack and lack and lack. So we are a naturally disadvantaged population. So what does that mean? So that means that we're living in survival. So we have these dreams, right? Because I do want to provide a reason why this is happening. And it's not so much good or bad, but if I always grew up in lack, right? And I didn't have a two-parent home, and I didn't have shoes or clothes to eat, or I probably did, or, but it really wasn't what I wanted, right? Then I create this ideal life, right? Now that ideal life is created by what I saw on the Cosby's or what I saw, on TV, right? What I probably saw, in that one couple that was in the neighborhood that was married, right? So I get this image of what life I want, right? And here's the thing, then I start to fit people into that life. So if I want a husband, right? If that's one of my ideas, and so now I'm not looking for you as the person, I'm looking for a husband, right? And so my idea of a husband is this, because I'm in survival mode and I need my life to look a certain way. And one of those is in my finances, one of those is in my personal relationship, in my family dynamics, and in my friendships, right? My friendships, they got to be this way. My husband
Right.
got to be this way. My finances got to be this way. So I've painted this
Because how
picture
you've been molded by the
because of
world.
how I've been molded, right? Now I'm just filling people into those spots. So it's not even at that first level about you. It's about me, right? It's about me and my survival. And this is why we feel like, very much what we call like in lack, like I can't really accept you for who you are, because if I accept you for who you are, then in reality that's not my husband, and I'm looking for a husband like right now today. So I need you to be this idea that I need you to be so that you can be my husband, because that's the box I'm trying to check off. You see what I'm saying? In life, friendships, like I can't really see you as the person that you are, because I need a friend that I could sing this song with, that I could do these TikToks with, or whatever that is. So I can't really evaluate you to see if, hey, I need a friend. Let me see what your values and your core beliefs are so we can align in that, right? I'm not really going through an evaluation process. I just need you to be this way. And if you're not that way, then I'm going to reject you or tell you that you ain't good enough or something wrong with you, right? And so that first level, I can't say that it's right or wrong. It's just like a stage in life. And then once you check all those boxes off, you realize like, oh, wait, this didn't make me feel the way I wanted to feel. I got the house, I got the husband, I got the relationship, I got the friends, right? I checked off all the boxes, but now I lack fulfillment in my life, because even though I'm married, I don't feel connected to my husband, because I don't really even know this guy now. You know what I mean? These friends around me, like, yeah, we cool, but so
You
there's
don't
a lot
have
of
that
things.
emotional attachment.
Yeah, I don't have the emotional attachment, because my first drive wasn't emotion, right? It was objective. It was just me checking boxes. Now I become very subjective in my life. Now I become very much like, okay, what is the meaning of this relationship? Now I check these boxes off. So I want that process for people to look like, um, it's like a flower blossoming, right? It's like a tree that, has to take root and build trunks. Like, this is a stage of life that a lot of us are going to go through. And this is why we have to have self-compassion for the choices that we made in our past, when we were just going off checking the boxes. And now we know that life is more about the meaning of our relationships and not so much about the titles and the finances. We have to have self-compassion. And when we don't have that, we end up replaying that over and over, because now I'm mad at myself for the choices I made. And, oh, I must be really stupid. And, and why I keep doing this. And it's like, no, you're not. You was in survival mode, and you was really trying to feed that simple idea that was given to you. And you realize now that that is not the life you wanted. That idea is still there, but you want more meaning, more color in it, right? You just don't want the frame, you want the picture too. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense.
Right. And so we have to catch ourselves from judging our behaviors as right or wrong, and really have some compassion for just the progression of life. And that's another thing that I think emotional intelligence teaches us. It helps us to regulate our emotions and how we feel about stuff. So that feeling come up, I may feel overwhelmed, but I'm able to regulate that emotion and tell myself a different story about the decisions I made, who my mother was, the environment I lived in, and have more empathy for the individuals that's playing the roles in my life. And then I'm able to show up more fully, in who I am. And that's growth, right? And that's the side of life where we really start to grow, is on this emotional side, because we start to expand more. It's just not concrete, objective thoughts. I think this, I think this. It's I feel. And if you look at emotions like a fragrance, that more you know how to feel, the more your aroma, like, kind of saturates the area, you know? But so many of us don't have the emotions, right? We don't even, if I want to ask your viewers, what is love to you? What does that mean?
Right.
And I guarantee there's going to be, right, different understandings of what love is and how important is it in a relationship.
Depending
How is
on
it
how it was shown to you.
how it was shown to you. You know what I mean? And even that we have an ideal of until you really experience it, right? When you experience love, then you're like, wait, I thought it was going to be, right? And I realized it's very much, you know, right?
Right.
Because when you small and you don't have love, you want love and you think love is like fireworks, you know what I mean? Like boom, not realizing, no, that's not love. That is your body doing what it's supposed to do to connect you to an individual. That's all chemicals, right? I heard a lady say that is all you have, right? Like that's your dopamine and everything. When that settles though, and now you see this individual, there's a right? There's a calming that comes with that. And there's an understanding, there's empathy, there's conversations, there's intimacy, right? There's all of these nuances that the exchange of love, it becomes the glue to, right? So I'm not going to say a certain thing to you because we're glued together through love. And what I say to you, I'm saying to myself. You understand? You
That's
know?
deep.
Right? But that is a different level of love than, this rejective, you don't love me, so I don't love you, or this very conducive, or I don't know, conditional type of thing. I'm only gonna love you if you do this. Well, love is a fragrance, so you cannot contain it like that. You know what I mean? It's an emotion. It's a mindset, actually.
hmm And
Yeah.
then, like I say, if it's built on anything outside of love, whether it's money, fame, materialistic things, sex, soon as that stuff die, the relationship gonna die as well. Because,
Yeah.
like you said, with love, you connected, you attached to
Yeah.
that person.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You look at that person as you do yourself.
Yeah, you do. And again, that extends not just in our intimate relationship, but in our friends, right? When I love my job that I'm in, that's an extension of me now. You know what I mean? So I ain't gonna do no sideways stuff in my business, because if I do sideways stuff in my business, I'm doing it to me, you know? And so love becomes like this extension of the things that we do and how we do that thing, right? But even love is a thing you mature into, especially if
Yeah.
you haven't had it and haven't experienced it. So it's
Yeah.
not just in our intimate relationships, in all our relationships. And I tell people, you're in a relationship with everything in your life. You're in a relationship with your shoes, with your clothes, with your car, with your furniture, with the food you eat. Like, relationship is not this container to male, female, or female, female, or, mother, father. Like, we're in relationship with everything. And how we do our relationships is a big part of how we do ourselves. And if we could start treating things how we want to be treated, right? If we could start extending and having compassion and empathy and understanding, because I want compassion, empathy, and understanding, right? And here's the thing, I'm not giving it to you so that I can get it back. I'm giving it to you because I know that how it feels to get it back. Does that make sense?
hmm hmm
So
And because a lot of times, when you do things from your heart, especially with compassion, especially with empathy, you don't supposed to expect it back. You know what I'm saying? And I understand exactly what you said. Because you know how to feel to, you know what it feels like already to get it back, knowing that somebody is being appeased by it.
Mhm. So in a sense, you paying it forward. You not going in debt with it, right? Like
Right.
I'm paying it forward. Like I'm doing you like this because I've already been done like that. How do I know I've already been done that? Because God gave it to me already. God has already forgiven me. God has already given me grace.
Right.
God has, even if you want to go to a, extreme place. So I'm gonna pay this gesture forward. Does that make sense? I
That
do
makes
want to
sense.
say that when people have the hooks, so I call them hooks, like I'm doing this to get this back, that's what we end up burned, right? Because, you know, if I'm being nice to you for you to be nice to me, then that's a very conditional relationship. If I'm only showing up this way so you can show up that way, that's a very manipulative stance. You are a manipulator. And
Right.
then as soon as that other individual don't do the thing you want them to do, now you call them bad. Now you judge them as harsh when really you had the ulterior motive, right? You thought if you showed up a certain way that this person was going to automatically do this thing. Now they don't do it. Now you saying that that person is an a-hole, a narcissist, or whatever you want to call them, when the truth of the matter is, did you assess your own intention? Did you do
Right.
that to get that behavior? Right?
Right.
So going back to your question about accepting people for who they are, if you do a gesture and the person don't respond the way you want them to, accept their response, right? And then move accordingly. But however they respond doesn't mean that they're a bad person, or doesn't mean that they're a narcissist, or whatever these terms are. Is there a narcissist? Yes. But it doesn't mean that this person is bad, right? It
Right.
just means that your intentions wasn't met, right? What you
Right.
wanted to happen didn't
Right.
happen. And when we can start to move without the hook, right? I'm doing this for you because I want to do this for you. However you want to respond is okay with me. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Exactly.
When we become free of so
Right.
much of the emotional turmoil that
Yeah. When
we
you're doing
find
it without
ourselves in.
expectations.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So yeah, you freezing up a little bit. We got about 5 more minutes so we get up out of here. But I want to ask you a couple more things.
Okay.
Okay, moving forward, how do you envision your findings from your survey being applied to support African American female entrepreneurs in their business endeavors?
Oh, so I have my nonprofit Shaping Solutions, and I'm going to get grants so I can run this Stop It Now program from community to community to community to community, right? And really teaching emotional intelligence, um, and having the facts and the data behind it to say, hey, so I'm going to the state senators and everywhere and say, hey, I got data to say that as a as an African American entrepreneur, we need this skill, and I want to be the person to provide it, to these communities. And we need to learn how to be self-aware. We need to learn how to regulate our emotions. We need to know how to influence others with our presence, not through rough and fear, like just in a conversation influencing that. And we need to be just self-aware of who we are,
Right.
so that we can too have an impact in the financial community and our business communities, a sustainable impact, right? They say what 80% of businesses go out of business in the first 3 years, out of the millions of dollars that is contributed into the the economic system. Black women is a big part of that, right? But the wealth is like only 20%. Like we're a small part of us is really making the big dollars, right? Do I attest all of that to emotional intelligence? No, but I feel like if we became more emotional intelligent, we'll know how to navigate that space better and have the conversations, and be aware of our emotions, and kind of self-reflect, and be able to move in the room differently.
Mm. So, what are some of your future what future research or projects do you have in mind related to this topic, or are there any other aspects of emotional intelligence and entrepreneurship that you'd like to explore further?
So I've already did some endeavors like, I have the Access Center, which is a clinic created for entrepreneur and self-employment success. So I used to do that on the 5th floor of the Commerce Center. So we're just about to open that back up in December, where I have office spaces and some co-working space. And I'm gonna bring a cohort of small women in, African American women, and kind of run emotional intelligence in the background as their success coach, and then also help them with the metrics. Um, I also had opened a home for some individuals, some women entrepreneurs, and really to see if they felt safe, how productive would they be in their business. And so they end up, feeling safe, getting off the couch, getting off the shelter, getting out of a bad relationship, and they could focus their energy on their family and their kids, and their business. And those women went on to do some successful things. Um, or went on to build those businesses. Those businesses have since dissolved, but I feel like the time we worked together, they definitely, became successful. In the future, again, just, you know, having more conversations like this, hopefully getting a sponsored podcast where I can do interviews where people come in and I can interview them and do on the site interviews with individuals and allow those to be case studies for, for women that may be in that same position. So yeah, I do have a lot of ideas that are strategic. I said my ideas used to be wide, but now I make them in length. Like I just eat them like one step at a time, and versus try to eat them all at one time.
Right.
Yeah.
And man, it's just a brilliant journey, and it's a revolutionary journey and
Yeah.
path that you on with your life. I
Oh,
want
thank
to
you.
wish you, first of all, congratulations. Second of all, I want to wish you much prosperity, Sheila.
Oh, thank you.
Emotional intelligence, emotional balance is the most needed thing in the African American community.
Yes,
I
it
want
is.
us to keep building on this as much as we can. I'm supporting you 100%. Like I say, we will be talking more about this. I'll be bringing her back in, but I really want to say shout out to you, man. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank
Because
you.
this is a well needed program, well needed skill. This is a well needed entity that we need to help us to be able to move further,
Yeah.
you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's a term that I think is just getting out there. Like they've been talking about emotional intelligence in the corporate world forever. You know what I mean? But now we're seeing the impact that it's having in our personal lives too. And I think the better people we can be in our world, then the better professionals we can be, the better mothers we can be, the better just people in general that we can become. And so learning this skill in our personal life, I think is truly um essential and critical to our evolution,
Right, right.
as a people.
Right.
Yeah.
So you want to give them your Instagram, and you want to give them all your websites, your Instagram, where people can follow you at.
Yeah, so you can follow me on any social media. I think it's TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook at I Am Shaping Solutions. You can go to my YouTube page, which is Shaping Solutions. And then you can always go to my website at SheilaLittle.com. And on my website, again, I feel like language is everything, a part of us. Even uplifting our emotional intelligence is having the language, or changing our stories is really having the language. So if you go to my website, you can get the free affirmation challenge where you get 31 free affirmations that come into your email every day. Now, those may be challenging for you to hear, but what they are there for is to expand how you see yourself and how you see the world around you. And once you can really start to upgrade your language, then your desires and your ability and how you see yourself will start to shift. So they can get that for free from my website,
Okay.
SheilaLittle.com.
So
And that's
I ask that y'all,
SHIELA.
okay, and I ask that y'all support her, because her mission, she's really coming with something unique and something that's helping to improve the community as a whole. Mastering your